Hey guys, welcome back to our channel. I wanted to make this video and I was trying to make it without this little one being awake, but she woke up in the time it took me to like get ready and stuff. So I'm still gonna attempt this, so hopefully it works out. And yeah, so before I get started, I just want to say a few things. I'm making this video just to kind of get to give you guys a little bit more of my background and give you guys a little bit of a story of how things happen. And I just want to say that as a disclaimer, I am not saying that like a teen pregnancy is cool or that everybody should go and get pregnant at 15. I'm not saying that, you know, like anything like that. That's not where I'm going. I don't think it's like the cool thing to be doing. I think people should be smarter about their situation. Please stop. Go get food. And with that being said though, me personally, I will support any teen mom I meet, and if I talk to them, I'll give them the resources I found to make my life a little bit easier, and I'll cheer them on and hope they succeed in their life and, you know, make the best of every situation. So with that said, let's get started. So me and Raymond got together and we made it official in January of 2008. Everything had kind of started at the end of like 2007, like late November, December 2007. But we didn't make it official until January. So that's how our relationship started. It went official. And so we were together for about a year. When we first got together, nobody was like really like excited about it. Nobody was happy about it, you know, and that's just how it was. So I think I should also let you guys know that when we got together, I was in 8th grade and Raymond was a sophomore in high school. And I'll do a separate story about that, about like how we actually got together and how we met each other and stuff. But even though like he was already in high school, we are only like about a year and a half apart. Like we're not, age-wise, we're not that far apart. So we had been together for about a year. And it was my birthday. My 15th birthday was in February, so right after a year I had my birthday, and my parents were kind of warming up to the idea of him, and they even let him come over for like my birthday celebration dinner type thing that we had that year. So things were like looking up for us, you know. And late February, early March, I started getting really sick. I started getting really sick, throwing up. I was nauseous all the time. All I wanted to do was lay in bed and sleep, and I just didn't. I never wanted to do anything. Like I literally just wanted to lay in bed and die. I would go through like in between my classes, because by this time I was already a freshman. And I would be in between my classes, and usually Ray would walk me to class because by that time we went to the same school. And he would be walking me, and like I literally would have to like run to a trash can that they had like sitting out in the hallway and like start throwing up. And I know it sounds disgusting, but like I knew I couldn't make it to the bathroom, and it was a bad time. And we actually had PE together because it didn't matter like if you were junior, senior, sophomore, freshman, whatever. They like combined PE classes at our school. Like it didn't matter what grade you were in. You were, you know, it was just a mix of kids. So we had PE together. I would remember like walking up towards him, and like my vision would like be all like, I was literally about to faint, and luckily I never did, because I would like take a step back and like, you know, just lean up against something, and you know. So with all the throwing up and everything, my parents were like, oh, like we need to take you to the doctor. So I went to the doctor's, and it was their like family friend doctor guy. Like I had never even seen him before, but that's who they took me to. And I think because like he knew my parents, he never asked me if I was like sexually active or anything like that. He just kind of diagnosed me by like hearing my symptoms, and he's like, oh, you're just sick, here, take this, 7 to 10 days, should be better, whatever. So I was like, okay. So I went home, started taking those pills. Obviously things didn't get better, and in my mind, like, being pregnant never crossed my mind. Like, never ever. Like, it wasn't even a thought up there. And it's not because, like, it's not because I, like, didn't think I could get pregnant. It's not because Can you move? It's not because, like, I was on birth control. It's not because I was on birth control. It's not because I was, I don't know. Like, in my head, I literally just, I was like, I don't know. I like, thinking back on it, I was stupid to think that, but that's just how I thought. And then once it obviously didn't, like, in my head, it didn't cross the doctor's mind, so, like, obviously, like, I was in the clear. So I started taking that medicine, and nothing was getting better, and I think about 2 weeks later, like, I was still having all these symptoms, and my dad's like, well, like, we'll make an appointment at the other doctor's, you know, and take you to, like, the other doctor who I had seen before, and they took me in, and while I was at the doctor, she like felt around, she like touched my stomach, and she's like, oh, well, like, we're gonna need a urine sample. So I was like, okay. My dad, he even asked me if I wanted him in the room. Like, he went into the back with me, but obviously, like, I had to go to the bathroom, like, when I went for a urine sample and stuff. So the doctor comes back, and she's like, oh, like, I just need to talk to her by herself real quick. So we walk out of the room, and she says, are you sexually active? And I was like, you know, like, I just turned 15, like, year-old little me was like, yeah. Like, I was like afraid to tell a doctor, even though, like, that's the one person who you should tell. So she asked me that, and I was like, well, yeah. And she's like, well, with your urine sample, we did a pregnancy test, and this is it. And I was like laid out on, like, her like, not her desk, but like where they had all this medical stuff, and it was sitting there. And then she's like, this is yours, and this is like how it turns if you're pregnant. And it came out positive. And I'm just like, my whole world just in my mind, I was like, oh my god, what has happened? So she's like, I am gonna send you to do lab work so I can know for sure, and we'll go from there. And if you're not actually pregnant, if this is a false positive, if you're not actually pregnant, then we're gonna have to run other tests because there could be something else wrong with you. So by where her office was, like, in the same building, they had a lab there. So me and my dad, we got sent to go do lab work, and we went. So I was like, oh my god. I didn't say anything to my dad. I didn't say anything to my parents. The one person I told was my brother's girlfriend at the time. I told her, and she didn't believe me. She took me to go get, like, at-home tests, and, like, made me take them, and she couldn't believe it. And then after that, like, I was like, well, like, she drove because she was like a senior or junior or something. I was like, can you please take me to go to Ray's house? So I went, and I told Ray, and he's like, well, you know, like, nothing's for sure, so let's just wait, all this stuff. So days pass, and, like, again, me and Ray were just, like, stupid or something, because we didn't really, like, discuss it too much. It was like, what if I am? Like, we had like small little talks about it, but to us, like, it wasn't this big huge deal yet. Like, I don't know why. Like, Tim, if I think of it now, and I think, like, I would have been like, oh my god, like, no, this is a massive deal, like, I'm pregnant. But Okay, I never had any sex ed classes. I never had the talk with my parents. I never, like, so I didn't know much. And I know for whoever sees this are gonna be like, well, then you shouldn't have been doing anything. Okay, I agree. At this point in my life, I agree. I shouldn't have done anything. I was very uneducated. But things happen, you know? So I didn't, like, if I went and took a test now, I'm most likely, if it comes out positive, I'm most likely gonna think I'm pregnant until, you know, and I'm gonna think I'm pregnant. Like, I'm not gonna think like, oh, it's probably false. So days passed and we were kind of just like, this isn't that big of a deal type thing, you know? So we had talked about like our parents, if they found out, and to us, like, that was the worst thing, like, of the whole situation. Telling our parents was gonna be like the worst thing. So while I would be at school, my parents would get calls from the doctor's office, and they would call and be like, oh, well, we need to talk to her, we can give you the results, like, we need to talk to her. And my mom would answer and she's like, oh, she's underage, like, why can't you tell me? And they're like, well, it doesn't work like that, we need to talk to her. So this went on for a few days and I never called them back. And I think she told me to call them back once when I was with her, and I was like, nope, because, like, I knew what they were gonna say. Well, I kind of had a feeling of what they were gonna say, so I avoided it. I didn't, I don't know, I am just a piece of crap. So I didn't call back or anything. So finally, after almost a week of this going on, she picks me up after school and she's like, we're going to your doctors and they're gonna say what those test results are, because why aren't they telling me? So we went and we had to wait because we didn't, like, have an appointment or anything. And at that time, I'm like, they're positive, like, this is why they're not telling her. So I'm texting Ray and I'm like, you know, my mom's about to find out, you need to tell your parents. And if you talk to my parents will tell you that they would have bet their life, they would have put their life on the line to say that, like, I wasn't pregnant, until the doctor started calling like that. Until, like, once the doctor office started calling like that, then they had an idea about it, and they've told me that. But before that, they would have sworn that, like, that wasn't even an option. So while we're sitting in the waiting office, she's like, this better not be like what I think it is, like, this, you know, all this stuff. So I'm texting Ray and she's like, if you are, like, I'm gonna go talk to his parents right now, like, stop wasting my time, tell me now. And I was just like, I have nothing to tell you, like, again, stop please, again, little stupid 15-year-old me who didn't know anything and who, I don't know, I was terrified of my mom, so, like, that would have been, like, the worst thing if I just came out and blurted it out. So texting Ray and I'm telling him, dude, she's about stop. I'm like, dude, she's about to find out, like, you need to tell your parents. She's threatening me that she's gonna go talk to them, like, you need to tell them before she goes in and tells them, you know. So finally we get in there and we get into the doctors or whatever, and the doctor comes in with, like, a thing of papers, and she goes, you know, how blah blah blah, and my mom's like, what is it, like, why aren't you guys telling me anything? And she asks me and she goes, is it okay for me to tell her? And my mom's just over there mad because she's like, you don't ask her, like, she's a kid, like, you don't ask her what she thinks, like, tell me, you know, like, that was my mom's thought at that time. So she's like, I need to ask your daughter if she's okay with me telling you. And I'm sitting in this chair and I'm like, go ahead. And she's like, well, if you look at this paper right here, it says your daughter is 5 weeks pregnant when I took the blood test. When I took that blood test, I was 5 weeks pregnant. And as soon as the doctor said it, I just automatically started bawling. I was crying and I was, to me, that was like the worst thing. telling my parents was like the worst case scenario. She looks at me and she's like, "Are you serious? Like, I can't believe this. Are you serious?" And I was like, "Well, that's what like the test says." So she's mad. She's like yelling at me. She's saying all this stuff, and then she walks away. She leaves the doctor's office and starts walking towards the car. So I get up to leave and the doctor goes, "Are you going to be okay?" And I was like, yeah, it's like, you know, as okay as I'm ever going to be. Like, I'm still like bawling, you know. So we get into the car and she's going off and she's like saying all this stuff. She told me I had options and just all these things. I had options, like you know, my life was gonna be changed forever, that I had no idea what I was getting myself into. And in my head, the worst was over, which, like, that's not the worst thing, and that's not the hardest thing, like, telling you, it's not, like, you still have a life that's gonna come into this world, and you're gonna have to take care of that life. I'm stupid, I was naive, I was, you know, like, to me, the worst thing that could possibly happen, the worst thing about the situation was done. Like, I was like, everything from here on out is gonna be jolly. Again, very naive, very young, very stupid.
Rich.
You know, very young, very dumb. Like, I didn't think. So she calls my dad crying. She's bawling at this point. She calls my dad crying and she's like, she is. Like, oh, she is. That's all she said to him. And like I said, before the doctor's office was calling like that, they didn't think that was a possibility. They thought something else was going on until she called. Then when she called, they were talking between each other. They're like saying she's pregnant, and apparently my dad this whole time was like, no, she's not, she can't be, no, she's not. And I'm a huge dad's girl, and I think that's what hurts me the most. Like, that's what hurt me now. Like, we've built up our relationship again, but like, I broke him. I was the youngest one out of the family, and like, I know, like, I broke his heart. And I know I broke my mom too. Like, I you know, like, it's tough. And I think if you think of your own kids, especially me now, like, I think if that happened to my kids, like, so young, I don't know how I would handle it. So I got home, and we walked in, and we cried the whole way. And I got home, and my sister's room was like right by the front door, and she just like looks up at me, kind of like, you know. And later on, she told me, she's just like, why wouldn't you come to me? Like, why wouldn't you tell me? And I didn't have an answer for her. I don't know. I really don't. My dad came, he yelled at me, he said all these things. He didn't talk to me for like 2 weeks after that. My older brother, who I went to school with too, he was a senior while I was a freshman. He would walk around the school, and whenever he would see me, he would flip me off. He had like a big interaction with Ray, like one day after school, like they saw each other, but my brother was like this soccer star, so he like didn't want to ruin anything, so he said, go, like, don't let me see you after, like, outside of school, you know, whatever. So basically, like, nobody was happy. Ray told his parents, they were a little bit more supportive. They told him, you know, like, you have to get a job, you're gonna have to, you know, things are gonna change forever for you. Obviously gave him that whole rundown, but like, nothing more than that, you know. So that's kind of how my parents found out I was pregnant at 15. And like, now when I think back on it, it does hurt me, because I do realize that I was a huge piece of crap, and throughout the years, I've treated my parents really badly, and they haven't deserved that. I don't think anybody's parents do. And, you know, all these years now, I'm trying to make up for it, and I'm still building that that relationship. It's been years, and especially like those first few years, like of trying to mend things the whole time I was pregnant. Like there was a lot that went into our relationship to try and get it to where it is today. Like now they know, like I'm at a different point in my life. Like they know how much I love them. They know that I would go through to the end of the world and back for them. And now we have a really great relationship. They love Alejandra. They obviously love Catalina as well. They loved Alejandra from the moment she was born. Like it was just, they're crazy. They're the best grandparents I could have ever asked for my girls to have. And if I could have Alejandra and have had her years later, I would have. And I think that's what I hope that, kids who are going through something like this, or who aren't being safe, like be safe. Like there's always later to have kids. Like you don't have to rush into these things. You don't have to rush to try and like grow up so quickly. And I think that's like a lot of misinterpretation from when like you're so young. You think like as if there's no tomorrow, you don't think about the consequences. You don't think about anything like that. And I think like if you have younger kids, or obviously young kids, or a little bit older kids like Ale, like I think the one thing that I suggest is that like you talk to them about being safe, and you make your kids feel like they can come to you and talk to you if they're ever in that situation where they are sexually active, so they can come to you and tell you, like, I need birth control. I think that's the best way to prevent it. And like sexual education, like there's no other better way. I didn't know anything. I didn't know there was even any other type of birth control besides like a condom, like until after I had Alejandra. And besides that, like, I was dumb, like, and I really was. And I thought, I don't know what I thought, honestly. But with that being said, I love Alejandra to death. She's my baby. She'll always be my baby. I think without her, I wouldn't have pushed myself so hard and to finish school and do like all that stuff. Like, she gave me motivation, and she gave me something in my life that I never knew I didn't have. I saw her for the first time. I cried, and that'll all be its own like little story. But moral is, you guys can wait. You can wait. You don't have to rush into things. And don't ever think that getting 15 and pregnant means you're gonna have your boyfriend forever and you're gonna be there together and it's gonna be this big old happy little family, because it probably won't be. And that's what sucks. You want to beat the statistics, but the statistics are there for a reason, and I think that's really crappy. I do, like I said, I support all my teen moms. I don't agree with how much teen pregnancy has, where, like, how the numbers are. Like, I don't think that's right. But like I said, like, I support whoever is a teen parent. Like, it's, that's what you can do, because it's gonna be a different situation. But because this is already 27 minutes, and yeah, I like talking and telling people my story. So like, let me know if you guys enjoyed this video, if you want to hear more about, once we had Alejandra, or Alejandra's birth story. I think I'm going to do them anyways, because I want to do them, and, But at least give me some feedback, and let me know. My camera ended up overheating, so I had to wait a little bit. But thank you guys so much for watching. I'm going to go take care of this one. And I'll see you guys next time. Bye. Say bye. Bye. Say ciao. 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 No ciao. So yeah, thank you guys for watching. We'll see you guys next time. Bye.